Continuing our strength conditioning series for training needs for blind athletes, today we are talking about snowboarding. This is a really cool one that was actually requested by someone on Instagram, so I would not necessarily have thought about this one immediately. It's not one of the cliche blind sports, but it's really cool that we're going to be able to cover some of the physical demands that are slightly different we really need to focus on when trying to pursue this and have fun with it in a safe manner, even with a visual impairment. So, hopping straight into it, we need to focus first and foremost on our balance. Being able to have our feet give us more information because our eyes aren't able to is incredibly important. If we have dysfunctional feet, then we are not going to be able to get as strong of a signal of what's going on in our environment, and that needs to be very paramount in our training needs, because you could run into issues where you're not able to feel things nearly as quickly and then not able to react to them and then be able to apply other physical capabilities that you have, and it's going to wind up in potential falls, skids, anything like that. So focusing on balance, again, number one, first and foremost thing to think about, because that's our way of overcompensating for our eyes not working as well. Okay. When it comes to focusing on appropriate foot strength and balance, we actually already have an entire series with beginner and advanced at-home workouts for that. You can check that out on the playlist here at Can-Enable Fitness's YouTube channel. Moving on, hip strength is going to be incredibly important as well. If we're focusing on braking, turning, anything like that, we need our hips to be able to apply force appropriately. So working on different unilateral variations like a weighted lunge, and then heavier variations where there'll be like a front or a back squat are very important too. This could also be like a hex bar deadlift will work really well for this manner too. We really need to be able to use our quads and our hips. So making sure that you're able to have kind of that blend of knee and hip in your movements can be very important. You can also flirt with doing quarter squat variations or even partial lunge variations, as long as we're doing the full range of motion within our workouts as well. This is going to apply a little bit more to where you actually have to operate while snowboarding. This can provide some a surplus of strength in those positions, and then you're going to be able to have plenty of muscle endurance because it's not going to be nearly as high of a percentage of your max, maintaining this really good snowboarding posture and being able to turn into all the things that you need to do on your way down the mountain. So let's say it takes you 2 minutes to get all the way down the mountain, but a minute in you'd be getting really tired in the hips and everything, then that's a greater room for error then that way if we have a surplus of strength. So if we again are so strong, let's say you can squat 200 pounds instead of 100 pounds, 50 pounds of perceived force is going to be a lot easier. So making sure that we're plenty strong in that way, and then again with different lunge variations like a Bulgarian split squat are going to be incredibly important. Now when you're at the gym, don't focus on having to get all wobbly and balanced or anything like that. Focus on don't jump on like a Bosu ball, anything like that. We want to focus on force output. So giving our body an ability to feel like we're in a safe place and actually focus on muscle output is much more important than focusing on trying to throw ourselves off and then being able to not wobble as much. We're not going to have nearly the amount of force output and not nearly as good of a workout. So we don't want to be in open space and fighting to have our balance on, let's say, a Bulgarian split squat with our rear foot elevated. Instead, we want to have like a weight in a hand if we're doing it weighted, and then a hand somewhere to balance, let's say on a rack or on a bench, something like that. Something nice and stable to where we're not helping ourselves, but we're taking out a lot of that balance aspect because we're going to be working that separately. We want to focus on our hip strength and ability at that point to make sure that we're able to apply force into the ground appropriately while not just wobbling all over the gym. Next is going to be our core. We need to focus on core strength because that's going to be able to maintain everything from the waist up, but then it's also going to be able to make sure that if our core is able to stay nice and tight and rigid, that we're able to have better force output into our limbs as well. So good, tight core work while also being able to turn and be able to kind of have a little bit of those extra motions that are going to be involved in snowboarding. Right? If we're pivoting, we're not always keeping our shoulders directly in line with our hips. Our hips may be a little bit off if we're pivoting and kind of doing a bit of a solid motion going down the hill. And then also if we're braking, again, our feet and our hips are going to be twisting underneath a tight core. So we need to be able to compensate for that in that transverse range of motion as well. Russian twists, pal-off press holds, different things like that, especially with weird foot staggers, are going to be allowing you to train that. Some kneeling chops would be another really good one to do on a cable set. So focusing on that core work specifically to have that solid base, so then your feet and your hips are able to do their job without wobbly noodle from the waist up. That's going to be incredibly important in order to keep you nice and safe and in control. And then last is going to be muscle. Put on enough muscle. Don't be afraid of that. You don't need to be super light for snowboarding. I mean, honestly, you might be able to propel yourself a little bit better down the hill, have some more fun with it if you weigh a little bit more. But also, the density of the muscle and everything is going to allow you to be a little bit more durable. You think about football players, rugby players who are focused on taking impact. They put on muscle more as to bulletproof themselves and not necessarily just for performance. It definitely does help with performance if you have thicker hips and quads and everything and are then able to maneuver yourself and place more force into the ground and make some tighter cuts or break last second when you need to. That's very important. But also if you end up falling and you have thicker shoulders, a bigger, thicker back, again, the thicker legs and everything, then you're gonna be able to take impacts a little bit more and recover faster. We don't want you, going for your second run, kind of getting used to things again, taking a slightly big fall, nothing too crazy, but hitting yourself and then you feeling the ramifications of that for the rest of your trip. I don't want you to go out for, a 4-day snowboarding trip and then have negative ramifications of this stuff hurting you the entire time because, you were still getting used to things and took a fall again on like your second run. That's no fun. So being more durable by being willing to put on some good healthy muscle is going to be a great way to go. If you have any questions further regarding this, go ahead and shoot them in the comments and stay tuned for a lot more strength conditioning training needs for blind athletes.